Hello, my name is Donnie Wetzel Jr., and today I'm going to be presenting on authenticity in our work. It's a presentation I've been working on the last week or so, and just really trying to get down to the simplicity of what it means to be authentic and how it's within each and every one of us, and the power of it, not only within ourselves, but in our relationships and in our work at school, with each other. So let's get into this. So I work at this state. Um, I was born up in Browning, Montana. I'm part Blackfeet. I'm Irish. I'm German. I've lived all across Montana. I graduated up in Harlem, Montana, right off the Fort Belknap Reservation. And I want to share some of the work that and the experiences that I've had over the years, and especially dealing with youth, and want to look at authenticity and the importance of it and how we can use it in everything that we do. I hope to do the best I can to get this point across. I also want to thank Salish Kootenai Tribal Ed Department for the honor to come and speak again at the conference at Salish Kootenai College. I wish we were all there together, but these are new times and getting used to the Zoom. So we all have our own individual journeys, and it's something that makes us who we are. And the ups and downs, the failures and the successes, all of it ties into the spirit of who we are and what we're about, and really makes us authentic when we share from that point. I want to talk about when you're authentic as a person, as a human, you are more accepting in a lot of ways. I know in the experiences that I've had and the research I've put out, looking at and reading on the acceptance piece is huge. I often talk about identity and the importance of understanding where you come from, who you are from, especially at a tribal level, but it's all across the board. Authenticity, one of the big, most important pieces of that is being vulnerable, and how it's sometimes difficult to be vulnerable and share pieces of ourselves. And I have that photo of Shrek there when he's holding the onion, saying that ogres have layers. I think we all have layers. It's just trusting somebody enough to share it, or being comfortable enough in our own skin to be vulnerable and give people parts of who we are from a very authentic place. When you have such relationships coming right from the heart like that, you can work well together. There's a trust that's built. And I believe that taking time to get to know somebody, not in a deep sense, but in a professionally authentic sense, it can create opportunities of trust. It can help lower discipline issues. It can just bring a connection with others. And taking that time can often slow some of those negative situations that we see in schools with our students. And instead of the other side is reacting to a problem and having disciplinary come down on a youth. I want to also cover the evolution of education in our society, and how the expectations of our teachers and staff and educators are so much higher now. They include so many more things that they didn't 20, 30 years ago. 30. I like how I said that. And the reality of the world our students live in. It's tough out there at times, and sometimes they bring a lot of difficult situations into the school. And we, as caring humans and teachers, help them, work with them, get them through it. And how we have to adapt and take on new roles and be there for each other. And then I want to look at the reality of how do we teach teachers to handle these extra roles? How do we teach teachers to have relationships and having structures of support in place? And if that direction works, then understanding that being human is one of the most powerful things that we could ever do. You can't go through a training to learn about being human or to learn about compassion. There is different kind of things that we go through in life, and you get into those deep understandings of who we are. I mean, that's something different than some of the approaches that we often go to. The simplicity of authentic relationships and the power that they bring is, I'll be hitting on that throughout this presentation, and how that can also lead to good self-care and good growth within ourselves, out to our students, out to our staff, administration, parents, community, so on and so forth. So in researching authenticity, it's a pretty simple thing if you think about it. Authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. That's a powerful statement, especially in the world today, especially with social media. We have so many people trying to be something that they aren't. We have filters on phones for our pictures that can make us look any which way we want. And it's causing a confusion at times. You know, it's a very interesting moment in our history that we have so many people doing so many things to try to fit into a look or to a way of life. Authenticity, on the other hand, is being real, being who you are, not embellishing and making things up to fit in, or keeping who you truly are inside to yourself, but sharing it. I put on there clear conscience, no fear. It's something that I really live by. Clear conscience means that you spend the day doing the best you can in an authentic manner. You can lay your head down at night knowing that you gave it your all, that you were honest, and you carried your day with character. And no fear is that grit part, that we have to get out there, become vulnerable, share parts of ourselves, and not only do what's best for us, but do what's best for others. And so authenticity is the realistic perceptions of reality, looking at everything at its core, accepting of self and others. When you're honest with yourself, it creates a healthy life. It creates a healthy spirit, keeps us balanced. And when you're in that place with yourself, it makes it easier to be more accepting and welcoming of others, to understand and be empathetic to others around you. Brings that thoughtfulness and attentiveness. Expressing authenticity also means expressing yourself freely and clearly. And I want to clarify that there's professional levels of authenticity. It isn't like calling someone out and just saying, hey, well, I just say it as it is. in a hurtful manner. In those ways, you can pull somebody aside. You can talk about it. You can check on them in an authentic way instead of calling them out or calling them out in front of others. It's coming from the heart. It's coming from the soul. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable. That's something I preach a lot to students. I think that's actually comes from the military. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's taking a chance, taking a risk, questioning all those things around you, or putting yourself out there, taking that extra step. I think that I've gotten way better at that, because sometimes you have to be the example and laugh at yourself at times, but trying new things, figuring it out, listen to someone you don't agree with, and try to understand their side of the story. Getting comfortable on being uncomfortable is a very, very powerful piece of being authentic. Courageous and brave is another. To try different things, to try different approaches, to listen to others, to share bits of yourself. Authentic people learn from their mistakes and are often critical on their work. They're very honest on their work. I know, I tie it a lot to athletics, because that's kind of the base of where I grew up. But if a coach come and tells you that you're doing something wrong, or you sit and you watch film and you see your mistakes, you got to work on fixing them. I wish we did that a little bit more in the education world, and just check ourselves. I think that it is very powerful if a teacher films their classrooms and checks to see how they are and how they relate to kids. It's a very powerful tool we need to use more often. And that's what I mean by being critical of your work. Checking in those ways to improve. And then understanding our own personal motivations. Why are we here? We're here to lift these students up. We're here to lift each other up. We're here to create the next generation of leaders and teachers. Authenticity requires vulnerability, transparency, and integrity. And we all have these pieces of our life where we're like that. Could be different relationships. It could be very trusting relationships. But it's within all of us to be authentic. So I was going to work on a completely different topic, but I remembered last year when I was honored to speak at the Tribal PIR Day. I even found an image of the PIR Day in that gymnasium, the old Joe McDonald's, and I put that little image up there with the question mark because I had a really fantastic presentation, and I was all set, and I was just gonna not even bring any cue cards, not bring nothing, but just go off of that. And I forgot to order or get set up a projector and a screen. Not that anyone could see it in there. It was my first time being there. So I guess I really didn't check on that. I assumed it. And so when I got up there, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was going to try to go off the cuff, but I wanted to do it correctly. So instead, I shifted and shared my heart, shared a personal, prominent, life-changing journey of mine when I had my child. And I was playing college basketball at MSU Billings at the time. And my girlfriend got pregnant, and it was a very difficult process because my son in the womb had some issues. He had to be taken out at 28 weeks. So I shared that story. And I had to put a halt to sports, which is the only thing that I knew at that time, really, and help deal with my son and just hope and pray that he would get through it. I lived in a Ronald McDonald house for 4 months down in Denver, Colorado, taking odd jobs, trying to hit as many courts as I could to maintain my game because I was a hardship redshirt that year. but it really shifted everything. And I shared that story last year on how awakened my mind to what is important. And to watch my little man fight for his life, I could do nothing. It was just his grit and his fire that got him through that. And it made me think of life a little bit more different and understand the miracle of a child. So sharing that last year, I had quite a few people come up and thank me for telling that story and talk to me about just how appreciative they were. And that kind of shocked me because I thought I failed miserably, but I realized that that's how I work with youth anyways. I like to work with youth because they are accepting, and I like to share that deep, authentic nature and experience and write directly from the heart and soul because they accept that. And I want to be the example that, okay, I'm going to be courageous and share something that I probably never would share. And in the lesson I learned from it. So I think with all my work, I'm always more comfortable around youth because they accept most around them. They like to hear the real stories, and it creates a very direct connection. Youth can see hypocrisy coming from a mile away. And when you're real and you believe in them and you're honest with them and you tell them you've made mistakes, but you're still plugging away, you're trying to lift yourself up, you're lifting others up, they respect that and they respond to that. I am in a new position at the state now, and I'm dealing with tribal relations, kind of at collaborative level and consultations. And it's a different transition for me because I'm working with mostly adults and a lot of meetings. But I realize that I can't change my tone. I can't change my style. And I've continued to be authentic in sharing who I am. And it's been very beneficial. I think I like that. I like to just get down to knowing people and taking that time, taking that opportunity to get to the core of who I'm working with and what they're about. So that's kind of the direction I took with this presentation, is thinking back to that experience last year. Within each and every one of us, we have values and understandings. There's things that we were brought up with, our parents, the love, the compassion. Could be a coach, it could be an uncle, an aunt, it could be our grandparents, it could be a teacher. There's things that we pick up that create our value systems and create our authenticity. And yeah, we don't ever get really down to that core very often, but it is very refreshing when we can truly be who we are around others and not have to change up any ways. So much of this are natural instincts. Being authentic is a direct connection to kind of our gut feelings. Our gut can tell us situations before we even can think about it. And, you often look at that reality as a child, as a baby, when it's in need, it calls out. It knows what it needs at that moment. And it's just straight gut. As we get older, we start to get more in our head. We start to think about things a little bit more often. Emotions tie into much of our decision making. And it's not that direct gut feeling. We still have that. And you always can tell if you're in a situation, you could tell. But our mind will get in. We're like, well, no, I'm probably over exaggerating or over analyzing this situation. But our gut is always there. And being authentic is that direct connection. I want you to take a moment, if you have a notebook or paper, and write down who taught you the values you hold. Just take them down and think about it a little bit. You can pause this and just think about who taught you the values you hold. It could be, like I said, a parent, a grandparent. It could be your church. It could be a pastor, a ceremonial leader. It could be your traditional knowledge keepers. Just think about that for a minute, and maybe at the end of this, give them a call. Tell them thank you so much. We need more of that. I also want you to write down, when have you spoke from the heart and spoke from the soul? If you can think of times where you've done that, where you're your true authentic self, and what was the impact that it had on those around you when you did that? And then also, can you tell when someone is being authentic? Think of the moments when you can tell of somebody sharing that piece of who they are, and how does it affect you? I know for me, it's refreshing. And I'm not looking at any hidden agendas. I'm getting it right dead center. That's where, I have a neighbor that's kind of a jerk, but he's upfront about it. I respect him because it's just who he is. But he'll come and he'll tell me right to my face. I have another neighbor that's not so much like that. And it's interesting. I like that authentic. Just be real with me. But take those notes. Who taught you the values you hold? When have you spoke from the heart and spoke from your soul? What was the impact on those around you when you did that? Can you tell when someone is being authentic, and how does it affect you? And you can pause this and write some of those notes down. Now I'm going to tie into kind of the reality of education today, and how we've shifted from the basic qualifications of an educator. We've shifted out of the simple fact of going to college, getting student loans, getting a career lined up with all of these different kind of things and dreams of being a teacher. I searched around the internet and found a bunch of job applications on teachers. I pieced it together here, and I'm looking at it, and our teachers today are doing a lot more than this. And it's difficult at times because you're taking on situations of youth. You're taking on the ups and downs of life and community, and how students are going through situations with parents. You're taking on a lot, and it causes stress. It causes high levels of stress, and at times secondary trauma, because we all care. We get into being an educator because we care. But a lot of times, you're a counselor. So naturally, I researched job descriptions for counselors. Kind of basic things. I pieced them together again. And as you can see, these are the things a lot of our teachers and educators are doing. It's very interesting, being able to understand your client's reactions and being able to persuade them to make necessary changes. Strong desire to help others. Must be able to identify and evaluate possible solutions. I mean, our teachers are doing this daily. Active listening, compassion and empathy. It's very interesting, the level of standards that we put on educators nowadays. And it's difficult because we don't really have a lot of mental health counselors. Our budgets are often low that we can't provide that. We don't have behavioral health specialists on call all the time. All these things are leading up to just being overworked. So facing the evolving tasks as an educator, you have so many expectations of your job and of you as a human. So many of you are parents to students. I've talked with teachers that have bought clothes and shoes and coats for their students, bought supplies for them, teaching them how to be this way or that way in a positive way. I mean, parenting is a big piece of being an educator anymore. Counseling, I already covered that. You have to learn prevention support, mental health awareness, suicide prevention support, all of these social and emotional and behavioral supports out there, wellness. understandings of the students that we work with in the wellness of each other. Um, some are dealing with truancy issues, getting out, checking on students, giving them a call, going to their house, picking them up. I know that our teachers are going above and beyond to try to work with the students' needs at that time. Active shooter understandings, active shooter trainings. I mean, a lot of situations that are new to the state of our world, and addiction support, abuse awareness. You know, being a counselor to students having a tough time with parents, and some of them are even kind of moving toward addictive behaviors. And nowadays with COVID-19, we have to be good at understanding infectious diseases, cleanliness. I mean, there's so much. How do we prepare educators to do all of these things? It's difficult, and it's on top of the instruction piece, the teaching piece. I'm always talking about the mind needs to be in a place to learn. There's so much evidence and research around that fact. You have to have the mind in a good place, ready to learn, for them to take in what is being taught. And so this is all very, very important, because it's the reality of the schools we work in and the world we live in. So how do we get our teachers up to speed, supplementing them with the skills to deal with the expectations? We provide a lot of trainings, a lot of professional development, how to create a relationship, how to interact with the student, what to say, what not to say. We attend conferences that tell us how we can better work on the school climate, the relationships that we have. How can we be more aware of helping students? Sometimes we bring in outside specialists to train the staff on relationship development, social and emotional supports, trauma informed. All of these things are brought in, and we go through tons of trainings to try to supplement all of the things before you even get to teaching. It's difficult times. Identifying new methods of education. Every once in a while, there's a shiny new object that comes in. The hottest effective strategies to date. Exciting new trend in education. And you hear the buzzwords all the time. You go to conferences just based on this shiny new object. And one time I was sitting with a kind of an elder educator, and she said to me that, you know, we're sitting there watching a presenter, and she said, you know, this was around 10, 15 years ago. It's just called this at the time. And it's the same stuff. It's always the same stuff. Now we're going to have to shift in this direction. And we're going to pay a lot of money to get trained in it. By the next week or next month, PIR days are scheduled to have somebody come in and teach you this new strategy on how to create a mindful school, a heartfelt, compassionate school. These are the steps you take. Pretty soon you're in a full 3-year school improvement initiative. I bring this up because I was part of this structure for years. I put that meme on there because that's kind of how many teachers and staff feel that, well, I've seen this before in a different package. And that's kind of the state of things. The burden on our educators with all of this new needs can be daunting. Spending more hours learning these new strategies, absorbing and investing all of this new system that's going to come in and make our schools absolutely great. implementing new programs with fidelity. That's one of the most important words around, and it's brought up often. That's why we have consultants to come in to make sure that we're teaching and practicing with fidelity. You jump through new hoops, check the boxes. Okay, we've done this. This is in place. That's in place. More meetings, more scheduling of meetings, more committees to plan pieces of the new process that we're going to bring into the school that will fix all of the situations with our students, staff, and school district. A lot of times you pay a hefty amount of money for consultants and programs to come in and fix what's happening in your school district. It's new expectations. It's a new system. I've been around teachers again that say, how long will this program last? Until there's a new one, we'll have to learn then with fidelity. These things come and go. They come and go, and there's a lot of money, time, and effort spent. Yet still, we have a tough time. Or we could communicate with each other. Hunker in as a team. And I bring these things up because, again, athletically, those are the processes that we did on team building. We may not have liked each other, but we had one common goal. Why not spend PIR days, 2 days to sit and meet, to have team building activities, to share who we are and bits of ourselves, and identify the skills and the powers within a room. Everybody has a skill. Someone that I know may not have the skill that I bring, but they probably have a skill that I don't have. So together we can work off each other. You get more in the room, the more powerful it gets. And it is like building a team. Everyone has their own unique skills. Everybody's working on their selves. If everybody is doing that, we come together, a lot of good things can happen. But understanding each other, sharing our authenticity in non-judgmental spaces, like relational circles once a week, just having a discussion, get some coffee and saying, hey, let's share a bit of ourselves. This kind of music I like. This is how I was seen in high school. This is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is my favorite football team, basketball team, artist, all kinds of things. Author. You share bits and pieces of yourself. It can create some pretty strong relationships. And as we move forward, those relationships can have us working more together. We had when I was on a team in college, we were driving to Oregon State to play them. And it was a 10-hour drive or 11-hour drive from Billings. And we took the bus. And coach had us switch seat to seat every few hours and get to know our fellow players. It was early in the season. And on the way back, did the same thing. And you get to know each other. You don't have to be best friends, but you get to know each other. You understand where people stand and what makes them click, what they're about, understand their values, spending that amount of time. Sometimes that process can create great growth in moving the goals forward. And the goal being, let's give the students the best that we can. Identifying local resources is something we also could do, because we have a lot of power in our communities, inviting past alum of the school that are doing amazing things as parents and teachers and artists and writers, engineers, all kinds of things. then of course the athletes. It's always good to bring in all of these successful people and celebrate them. You know, I was working with one project and students were taking notes on who are their heroes, creating a certificate and having a session after school to just say that. Nothing special, just acknowledging these people that they looked up to. We need to do that more often. I know school districts that are starting to do this last year, and it's made a tremendous change within their school, honoring those old fellers and ladies that used to be a part of that school system that made a difference. We do that anyways. Many of you guys do that within your schools as well. Inviting your local knowledge keepers with the understandings of what it means to be part of the Salish Kootenai tribes, Pend Oreille tribes, whatever it may be, Blackfeet tribes. They're around our communities, and identify those resources because they're there, and they're there to stay. They have a vested interest in the people and the place, and get them in. Also, to realize the answers are in the room. Once we get to feel each other out, maybe take a chance, the answers are usually there. I was in an interesting conversation a few weeks back with the school district, and one administrator who was born and raised in this community, who is now an administrator, during a presentation on bringing in a school improvement program, she got up and spoke and said, so we had a outside consulting firm do an assessment of our school system. They gave us a report that told us everything that was wrong with our school system. Now we're going to pay an outside organization to come in and fix all of these things that are wrong with our school system. The big problem with that is there's no local voice. And that happens a lot. Sometimes we miss the biggest variable, and that is the resources in the room, the resources in the community, those that have born and raised, those that have lived there for long times. That's a very powerful piece that we often overlook. And working from the heart and creating an honest space where you sit in a room and say, hey, what's said in here stays in here. Let's build trust. Share a bit of who you are and what you're about. And when you do these and build these type of relationships, self-care is front and center. When you know somebody well enough, you get a sense, usually from your gut, when something's up. And I'm going to check on them. They're acting kind of down today. You get a sense because your gut will connect to that authenticity if you're sharing it with each other and those around you. That self-care is one of the most powerful. I've done suicide prevention work for a very long time in my life, and I'm amazed at how old I'm getting, but for about 15, 16 years, I've done suicide prevention, intervention trainings, different kind of things. But the ability to sit and listen to somebody and objectively listen and let them vent, it's a lost art. We're always trying to out-talk each other. We're always trying to one-up each other. But as you sit and listen, you take in what they're saying, you take in, you lift that negative energy off them at times. I've been in an intervention with students and adults and just ask them, what's going on? Tell me about it. Sometimes it takes a while, but if they trust me, they'll start to tell me. And you'll just see them lighten. I mean, you just see it. And these things are free. It takes time, of course, but they're free, and it builds a connection that, no program will ever create. The current outside consultant conundrum, there is a lot of pros to this model. They're experts. They're experts in the curriculum that they're bringing in. They're experts in the professional development. It's one thing on the instruction side, but it's another on just understanding this new process and the new trainings that are coming into your school system. Consultants have knowledge of the processes. They can provide hands-on support and help our district implement it with fidelity. Some of the cons with this is they're not from the community. Oftentimes very expensive. Again, what if we use the money to pay outside consultants to spend time in-house, to go on a break, and sit and get to know each other, to go spend time with each other. Sometimes an outside consultant can get into the school 2 to 3 times a month, if that. And you're paying for it, but the only time they come in, they're coming in to make sure that you're progressing. It's a difficult task. Oftentimes an outside consultant lacks the understanding of the community, lacks the history, lacks the everyday life to get into what is really happening in our tribal communities. Some of them lack an understanding of cultural diversity. Many misconceptions pop up, and it's difficult. I'm not bashing on some of this stuff. It's something we've been trying for a long time. And what I want to emphasize is, let's get down to the basics. Understanding the energy that we spend and the time that we spent. I've seen many programs come in and hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent on them. Time is spent on them. And are we getting the results that we deserve? To sit in 2 days PIR day and take in a new training. What if we were to do that with each other? Again, spending that time. There's activities galore. Have a karaoke contest. Who knows, It's exciting. It's fun. I know you may think I'm crazy, but you really get to know each other in these kind of ways. What if we spent time and money on ourselves, on our ideas, on our authentic work for students in school, using what is around us, using the resources, using our local philosophies? How much energy do we spend on outside solutions? Think about that for a moment. The two words information and communication are often used interchangeably, but they signify quite different things. Information is giving out. Communication is getting through. It takes time. Communication is very, very necessary for success in probably anything that we possibly do. I mean, my wife is absolutely phenomenal, but if we're not communicating, issues pop up. All of these things can be improved through communication. I wanted to throw out a meme break. Memes are one of the funniest inventions of all time, and just gives people a chance to show their creativity. The one up top, that's exactly how it is with trying to take a picture of the moon. The one on the right, that's the truth right there. And it seems like every Friday, that's how I feel, at least. I don't know how you are, but memes can also have just amazing quotes and pictures that you can relate to. So go ahead and pause and take a chance, take a little break, take a chance to look at these memes. Coming back, yes, that is Grizzly Adams. If you want your blood pressure to drop, go on YouTube and watch a few episodes. They're there, they're free. My son loves them. I have a 9-year-old son. I have a 13-year-old daughter in 8th grade, and I have a 26-year-old son. And boy, they've taught me the greatest lessons in life. So why do we choose education as a career? I want you to get your notebook out again, pause the presentation, and write down the reasons why you became an educator. Of course, I was looking around, researching, seeing if I could find any surveys, and I found a really cool one from University of North Carolina, Wilmington. You can go on that URL and check it out. It's a 3-page document. But take time to write down, why did you choose education as your career? 1 to 2 to 3 reasons why. So coming back, these are some of the reasons that I took from that article. This is death by PowerPoint through text. Makes your eyes hurt, but there's some pretty cool things. These folks are becoming educators to see that spark in a child's eye when they finally understand something. I needed to change careers, and education was my first choice. I never wanted to stop learning, to create lifelong learners who care. They became educators so a child can walk out of school at the end of the year feeling loved, more intelligent, ready for more. I wanted to do something meaningful with my professional life, to inspire the next generation of social scientists. I had so many bad teachers. I knew I could do better for the good of the students. These are all things that we've all felt, you know. I dropped out and knew if one teacher cared about me, maybe I would not have. So this person became a teacher. Amazing from the heart statements of why we choose education, that I can agree with many of those. Looking through that document, looking through other research online, you never see an educator said, I became an educator for the money, or I became an educator to frustrate and belittle young people, or I became an educator to get back at their parents for a past incident or experience. That's some cold grudge right there. But these comments here I have heard from students. I have even heard myself. I became an educator to save these poor tribal people from themselves. The savior complex is very real. And I did hear a teacher one time say that. So I kind of pulled him aside and said, I'm sorry you think those things, but have you ever taken time to get to know folks in the community? Sometimes you can link up a student to be almost adopt a teacher who has such thoughts, you know, about our community, about our children. Just try to soften them up, you know, have them understand a few things. I became an educator to ruin a child's life and crush their hopes and dreams. You know, you'd never write that down, but sometimes it happens. You can see it. You can see it in the energy. You can see when an educator does not believe in the students that they're teaching. They feel that. They know that. So what do students look for in an educator? First and foremost, I think we should ask them more often. I would love to see students have a forum once a month that they present to the teachers and staff on their side, their perception, their ways of improvement. You know, sometimes you look at that top one, relationships. That is first and foremost. You know, you have a relationship with the child, they will just do things for you. You know, you'll see these bad kids and then they'll walk into one teacher's room and they're the best in the world. It's because there's respect, there's a relationship there. The teacher took time to get to know them. What do students look for in an educator? Teachers who can relate to them, teachers who can admit their mistakes, teachers who are respectful, teachers who make class interesting and fun, teachers that believe in them, relevant teaching to my community and worldview. Sometimes we're teaching things about places and situations that never hit our reservation communities. Teachers who value the students' time, teachers that make me want to be a teacher. But yeah, I encourage you all to take time to understand what students look for in an educator. I mean, it makes us better, it makes us work harder. You build that trust and relationship. You sit down and get to learn a little bit about them in that authentic way. And those students will run through a wall for you. I've seen it time and time again. And just learning and working with each other is very, very powerful. So what if we did set time aside to be authentic with our students? First starting with ourselves, then starting with our peers, our fellow teachers and staff and administrators, but then carrying that out, um, creating situation that students have a voice. What if they were able to present once a month, like I said, or twice, whatever? What if we started the day, started the week, or midweek did relational circles where you can get to understand where a student is. You can do this even at the staff level. Once a week, relational circles. I know that there's probably people rolling their eyes, but you put in this time, a lot of the other situations can be slowed or lessened. Discipline issues, attendance issues. People want to go around those that care about them, that know and trust them. And it's a powerful thing. What if we brought in parents to witness their child's voice in action? You can do this stuff with Zoom now. I think Zoom has opened up a whole new realm of possibilities. And it's actually brought parents more into the situations. Some not so good, but quite a few, probably more percentage good. Parents are now respecting the job that teachers have had, and Zoom is now an avenue to bring in more voice. And one of the most important thing is that student in the middle as the bridge. We need to use them more. They can bridge us. They can bring adults together that don't see eye to eye, but they focus on the best of the student. They will make that change. So being an authentic human, understanding each other, access the power and strength in the room, assess the power and strength in the room, school and community. Being authentic is understanding each other's individual journeys, understanding and maybe discussing our stereotypes and misconceptions we may have of each other. I do this on a youth level, and it's, it works at a adult level as well. Understanding we're all in our own individual struggles, not judging. We all go through systemic bias or have been a part of such systems that are still in place. Depression, loss, grief, these things are things that we go through as humans. And understanding that everyone has their level of tipping point, and you can't judge that. You can't be in their shoes. Everyone is very unique, and just sitting and accepting is a very powerful thing. But all of these things are within us. You don't need a training to teach you how to come from the heart. You grew up like that. You had those influences. And we need to start to do that more often. Just be human. Create the relationship. Be authentic. Be yourself. And you'll get it in return. I've seen it time and time again. Elders often say our goal is to become the best human. Nisitapi is how we say it in Blackfeet, to become the best that we can in this world right now. And then to be an example for the generations to follow, to look up to. It's often said school is a microcosm of our community and society. In this case, we are leaving the heart out of our schools and thus society. You could see it every day. There's such a separation that it's sad. It's difficult to deal with. We have families not talking anymore over a Facebook post. Getting back to the real authentic face-to-face or Zoom-to-Zoom discussions that we can have is very important and very crucial, and being that example for youth to follow. So here's the final meme break. Go ahead and pause, take in these situations. There's some powerful images here. There, of course, is funny ones as well, but some of this is situations we deal with, and it deals with our own journeys and the cycles we're trying to break. That Denzel one's very, very powerful, and we have that. We have a lot of lateral oppression. We have crab in the bucket syndrome. What if we used all that energy to pick each other up instead of tear each other down? Again, we can do these things. I've seen it happen at the youth level. I've seen it happen at the adult level, but it takes time. It takes effort. It takes that front loading. It takes getting to know each other. So go ahead, pause this, check them out. So why do we have to leave our heart at the door of our work? We look at these outside resources, outside programs, outside processes to fix our situations, when so much of this can be fixed by taking time to be authentic with each other, taking time to get to know each other. I believe that it's something that I've seen change lives. I mean, I believe in this stuff. When I look back, I remember the teachers that were authentic to me, that were real, that took me in and helped me out through a tough time. And you hear it time and time again. And it starts within us. Maybe we have to heal something with us. Maybe we have to process something with us. But when we get to that point, it's going to just benefit us and everyone around us. And the simplicity of linking back to who we are as a human, how we were brought up around the values and in the strength of our family, our parents, our churches, our ceremonies, all these things are within us. And get back to the community, the school raising the child, where we have each other's back. Because when school systems are fractured and teachers are not getting along with administration or with each other, students see it. And it's like a parent going through a divorce. Kids know which way to go. They know to see the fractures in the foundation. It's sad, but it's something that they've developed an understanding of. Kids can see the foundation. They won't believe it if someone's saying, do as I say, not as I do type of an attitude. But it starts with us. You can create the school teams, leads to the students by example, and then they can create their teams. They can be part of the solution, possibly even bring in parents. That's a tough one, but it extends out to the community, to the tribe, to the state, to the nation, so on and so forth. As educators, we have this amazing opportunity to change and influence the world. From the heart is where we need to get back to. I've said it time and time again. It's sitting around a table, eating dinner together as a family. We're sitting around a Zoom table. I've heard families are now connecting across the United States and even across the world with family members through Zoom. They're having game nights. I mean, the possibilities are endless if we open our minds to it. But creating and having those relationships, keeping our heart in the work, spending that time, the grades are going to go up. The behaviors are going to go down. The attendance is going to go up, and the experience will improve. It's that balance. It's that balance that we all need to be in this. And welcoming and opening that conversation is a very powerful thing to do. That statement, a child doesn't care what you know until they know how much you care, it goes all the way through our life. It goes all the way into adulthood. I think we all need that all the time. And we can do those things in our school system. So I'm going to close this wild little adventures I've taken you on. I think I'm almost up to my time, but bring it all back together. I apologize for being so corny and sappy, but in all honesty, I think we need more of that. That's where that authenticity comes from. I've been in enough situations in my life, as I bet you all have, that we've lost somebody or we've said something that hurts, and then you never see that person again. So I get a little bit more sappy now. I get a little bit more sentimental, and I've tried to be better at sharing my thoughts, my love to others as much as possible. And I think that's the authentic piece that makes it all work, that makes it all click, coming from the heart and soul. And also, I wanted to hit on this topic. I hope it made sense. I've seen these things work. I've seen it in Heart Butte School. We're doing some pretty amazing things, and it starts with the compassion first and foremost. The pride. They're building and painting murals of strength of our tribal nations up there. It's happening all over the place. Plenty High School, all these different kind of schools. You have them sitting right there in your communities. It's that strength, and I like to share these things because I'm afforded this platform. And I again thank the tribal ed department and inviting me here and giving me the opportunity, because it is about those relationships. And to have you all understand that you got this, it's in you. You don't need a training to care for a student or to care for each other. You need time to get to know each other. There isn't anything on the outside, and data shows that we're not getting much traction on this old model of outside coming in to fix the inside. It's got to come from the inside. I think we all know that and understand it, and got to be open. And there is such a thing as local control. It's amazing what our school boards, in conjunction with our teachers and administrators, and especially our students, can do when they come together for the benefit of our youth. So thank you for all you do. And I always like to look at that Frederick Douglass quote and just say it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men, and more modern day times broken people. But it's very powerful, and you all are a part of this. You're all creating change that is going to change the world as we move forward. So I appreciate it, and I thank you so much for spending time and listening to me in this presentation. All right. Have a good rest of the conference, and I will talk to you some other time or on my other presentation. Thank you very much.